Hello and welcome to the Mastermind Growth Podcast, where we share the wisdom, the stories, the insights from business owners. My name is Jacqui Greene and I have the pleasure to be your host for this week's podcast. I am your local Federation of Small Business membership advisor, meeting and supporting business owners from all industries. Today we have with us Jacqui from Jacqui Greene Coaching. Hiya, Jacqui.
Hey, John, how you doing?
Yeah, excellent. Thank you. Thank you for joining us on this podcast.
Hey, it's great to be here. I'm really pleased to be invited and hopefully can share something that will help somebody listening to move to that next level.
Excellent. So tell me a little bit about your business and how you got started.
Sure. So, I got started quite a number of years ago. I've always been somewhat of an entrepreneur. As much as I was very much embroiled in the corporate world, there was always that element of me that I wanted my own business. I wanted to have control over my life in that way. And I've done everything from being a florist to dabbling in quite a few different network marketing companies, to finally finding that what I liked about all of those things was the connection with people. And so ultimately, with some major life changes that I had that ability to go, why am I here? What am I doing with my life? What am I going to do with the next 20, 30, 40 years of my life, when it, up until that point, hadn't quite panned out as I had planned it to. And then Jacqui Greene Coaching came from there, and the training and everything followed, as it were. I sort of jumped in head first and then caught up with myself quite a few years ago. Initially started out literally with just 30 to 45 minute consultations with people. Built that all the way through with coaching and applied hypnotherapy and speaker training and all sorts of business training, to the point where now I run my own program in which I incorporate all of that in a way that I take the people I work with now through this process where they get to understand who they really are now, rather than, working with people in their 40s or 50s who basically where I was at, which is thought life was going to go one way, kind of ended up at a crossroads, or ended up realizing, hang on a minute, woke up one morning, this is not the life I planned for myself, but don't know how to get out of it. And that's what I do now. It's literally like, talk about 5 years in a synopsis, but like that, it has been a growth scale more than I could ever explain on here in this amount of time. But yeah, that's how I got to where I am now.
Oh, fabulous. And I should imagine that as we record this, we're tentatively started to come out of the COVID-19 lockdown.
Yes.
And regardless if you're 40 or 50, I think there's a lot of people at that crossroads.
Absolutely. I think I think ultimately, what I was only chatting with somebody earlier, and that whole, I think there has been a real positive about this lockdown in people kind of going, what is this about? What am I doing getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning to go to work from 9 till 5, to come back again, to sit in front of the TV, to go to bed and get up and do it all over again? That's great for many, many people, as long as it's serving them a purpose. But for many of us, I think we've gotten into that stage of just becoming on that hamster wheel. And if lockdown has done anything, I think just highlighting that for people. And as I said, some will be happy with that. Some would have woken up and going, oh my goodness, this is not the life I planned for myself. What am I going to do about it? And others will be ready for massive change. I think highlighting that for anybody who then wants to go on and improve their life, that's got to be a positive to take away from all of this.
Absolutely. And if there's somebody who finds themselves in that situation where they're kind of going, well, I'd love to start my own business, what simple technique could they do very quickly to help them on that journey?
Yeah, that's a great question. So if they're looking at starting their own business, I think the biggest piece of advice I could give is, what do you love to do? Like, what do you love to do? Because if you can put your passion into something, whatever that is, whether it's making videos, gardening, sitting looking at the sky, there is a job in that somewhere. There's a career in that somewhere. And if you can allow yourself to just listen to what makes your heart sing, then ultimately the people who can make the people who focus on what makes their heart sing and focus their career in that direction, then they serve fulfillment of themselves in every direction, whether it is financial and spiritually, for want of a better word, of that fulfillment of feeling like they're doing a good thing. Because if you're doing it with passion, it's like, as far as I'm concerned, then you're doing the thing you're meant to be doing. If it's drudgery, or if it's like, oh, I'm going to do this because I think it will make me money, ultimately the lack of passion will disintegrate that.
Yes, and I know sometimes when people go after their passions in life, there are some challenges along the way. And so, have you had any of those big challenges that you could share with us?
Yeah, absolutely. I've heard a saying in the past that says you live in the trenches of your business. And my understanding of that is, so I work in, ultimately as an umbrella, personal development. And that shines a mirror on me every single day. There have been times where I have totally been, I should be able to do this, I ought to be able to do that, why isn't this happening? Massive lack of certainty. I remember 2 or 3 years ago, I had this real sense of, who am I to be doing this job, and why should I do this? Why am it basically imposter syndrome? And that was a big hurdle for me to get over at that time. I got over it with basically just taking one step at a time. So I think ultimately when challenges come upon us, it's because we're looking at this massive mountain rather than the next step in front of us. And when we focus on just doing the next step rather than climbing to the peak of the mountain, then we can do that. Is the analogy of eating the elephant one bite at a time, right? Like, literally, I think that in itself, whatever challenge in starting a new business, because if you are following your passion, you're probably either very focused on it or very good at it, or you have a reason why that's your passion. And then suddenly there's this whole other stuff that you need to do when you run your own business, which might be completely out of your zone of genius, and stuff you're going to need to learn and go back to school, as it were, to get to understand. But instead of looking at that whole massive picture and getting overwhelmed from it, just go, well, what do I need to do next? Who do I need to contact? Or what do I need to look up on the internet? Or who do I know that this is their zone of genius that I could ask questions of? And just moving forward and being kind to yourself, first and foremost, above all else, is definitely, it's basically the epitome of what I teach, is start by being kind and compassionate to yourself and not digging yourself a great big trench to go and sit in.
Absolutely. So it's very easy to sort of like teach other people the personal development, but it sounds like you managed to actually apply it to yourself at the same time.
Well, yes and no. So I have employed over the years many of my own coaches. I'm a self-confessed addicted to self-growth and bettering myself. So when I come up against a challenge, I do exactly what I teach, which is, who do I know? What can I do? That moment of imposter syndrome, I have an incredibly supportive partner. So that is a massive bonus for me. But within that, I was able to then navigate myself through, well, what do I need to do? What is, like, I could through what I do, of course, I could recognize what's going on. It's not so easy necessarily to just go, okay, fine, fix it. But certainly some questions you could ask yourself would be around, are the thoughts that are going through my head the truth? So for instance, with that kind of imposter syndrome, is like, is it true that I am not worthy of the lifestyle that I want? And I can find all the untruths within that. Is it true that, is there any truth in that I'm might not be any good at what I do? And I was like, no, every single client I'd worked with had gotten results. It's like, it was complete made up nonsense. So when you start looking for the truth, or actually look for the fallacies within the noise that goes on in our minds when we're in overwhelm, you get to be able to start to unpick those fallacies and then weed your way through to the truth of what could be and what actually is. And then that helps to step through and out the other side. And as soon as that successive thought starts to roll, it begins to snowball in all the good ways.
Excellent. So if there's somebody finds themselves in that situation where maybe they're feeling a little bit like an imposter, or they feel all the pressures, or they need a change or a shift, how would they contact you to find out more about your coaching?
Sure. So I specifically work with professional women who find themselves in this space where they want to get to the next level, but are struggling, like they're getting in their own way. So the way that you can contact me on that, you can find out all about what I do on my website, which is my name, JacquiGreene.com. I know that will be written under the podcast, so I won't spell it out, but it's not as it might seem. And my Facebook profile, I actually write an awful lot into that to help people understand the kind of work I do, but also things in there that you can really focus on to recognize whether is it strategy you need, like a business coach or a strategy coach, or is it on the personal development side? Is it about letting go of those unconscious kind of blockages that get in the way? That's the work that I do. So my Facebook account is, and I'm going to make sure I get this right, so bear with me, I should know it, is at XX Jacqui Greene XX. And again, John, I know you're going to put that up, but that will just take you straight to my Facebook profile, and you can DM me from there. I check all of my private messages on there, and through my website as well. You can contact me through there as well. So really simple, and you can ask questions. I'm open to all questions, and just open to giving as much information as possible without putting plasters on things, because ultimately these things often take a bit more than just a quick fix. We want to help people get to the next level and stay at that next level and move forward.
Excellent. Thank you ever so much. And thank you for sharing your story with us and your challenges.
You're so welcome, John. It's been a pleasure. It's a pleasure for you to have me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jacqui.
All right.
So, if you know of anyone who is a business owner and would like to share their story, or got an interest in insights into building businesses, please do let me know.